The BBC has got to get its house in order. Can the staff or can presenters declare publicly their political opinions or not? No need for a review, just tell us the answer.
Welcome to the Showbiz Showdown. I'm JJ, and today's big debate question: should celebrities stay out of politics? Joining me on the panel, in the blue corner, she's a little bit left, a lot of bits wrong. It's Afua Hagan. Woo! And in the red, talkTV veteran and a professional arsehole, it's Uncle Kevin O'Sullivan.
Professional arsehole, thank you. Yeah.
You get paid
Takes
for it.
one to know one.
Gary Lineker, as you may or may not have heard, caused a bit of a stir when he tweeted this: "There is no huge influx. We take far fewer refugees than other major European countries. This is just an immeasurably cruel policy directed at the most vulnerable people in language that is not dissimilar to that used by Germany in the 30s. And I'm out of order." Question. He's got a lot of flack, but also a lot of support. The BBC, however, have had nothing but flack from all sides. No matter what side of the argument you're on, the BBC has roundly been slammed. First of all, Afua, was he okay to say what he said, Mr. Lineker?
This is problematic. So for me, I think I stand by his tweet. I think that he's right. I think the government's immigration policy...
I stand with Gary.
Yeah. I think the immigration policy is cruel. The problem here is that the BBC's very vague, not really working, not very clear policy on Twitter use and digital use says that if you're employed by the BBC, you can't necessarily express your opinion one way or the other. So whilst I agree with what he said, technically he shouldn't have said it in this space because you're supposed to be impartial. Impartiality is something that the BBC are trying to, have across the board. But the problem is that it's not applying to everybody else. You've had Sharon Davies has tweeted lots of her opinions about trans people in sport. You've got other employees at the BBC as well.
Sharon Davies is not an employee at the BBC.
Well, neither is Gary Lineker. Technically, he's freelance.
Yeah, but Sharon
right?
Davies isn't even on the BBC.
She has been on the BBC.
I mean, you mean Andrew Neil?
Well,
you mean
Andrew
Neil,
Lord Sugar. Not Sharon Davies.
But
she doesn't work there.
The swimmer,
no, she doesn't work there.
But she's been on the BBC.
Well, yeah, I've been on the BBC.
And she has tweeted her opinion. So there's other
but
people.
She's not on the BBC.
There's other
Okay, let her
people.
finish the point.
Thank you. There's other people who have also been employed by the BBC.
Like Alan Sugar, like Andrew Neil, like Jamie Clarkson. Sugar is still on the air now.
Tweeting, the picture of the football team and saying they look like people you'd seen on the beach in Marbella. Andrew Neil has been very, very supportive of the right-wing values and of the right-wing movement, worked for the Spectator whilst working at the BBC and has tweeted his opinions. So it has to be across the board. So either everybody who works at the BBC, for the BBC, employed by the BBC, shouldn't be able to tweet their opinions, or everybody should. The point is the policy doesn't work.
Kevin?
Well, yeah, I absolutely agree with Afua. I mean, this is the problem. I don't care what Gary Lineker thinks. I don't care what his opinions are. He's very entitled to have them. The question is, as one of the major faces of the allegedly impartial BBC, should he be allowed to tweet them? Should he be allowed to declare them publicly? And I think in terms of the BBC's basically sacred contract with the British people, that for 159 quid a year, it promises us it will do its best to be impartial and unbiased, and I think that's a fair contract. In terms of that, they've got to get their act together, because the thing about Gary Lineker is basically I think everybody at the BBC should not be able to start tweeting their political opinions, and that does apply to most people at the BBC. Most people at the BBC have signed a contract to say that. Vanessa Feltz of talkTV now, she said every year she had to sign a contract saying she would not state her political opinions. Gary Lineker, fair enough, has not signed that. And it seems nor did Andrew Neil, nor has Lord Sugar. So what they need to do, they need to get a policy together. They do not need to review their social media policy because it's a simple question, isn't it? Can they tweet their political opinions or not? Yes or no? Tell us. Now, also, one last point. You can't conflate, I think it's wrong or misleading to conflate Gary Lineker, one of the major faces of the BBC, their top sports broadcaster, with Lord Sugar, who isn't even a presenter. He's essentially a hired guest. Andrew Neil left the BBC 2 years ago. Jeremy Clarkson
But go back to Andrew Neil, because when Andrew Neil did work at the BBC, he was doing a lot of tweeting. Yeah, but he was doing it historically. He's done it, so you can't say, well, now he's left. That's it. And
he wasn't quite. I mean, I think that was a mistake. I don't think he should have been allowed to do that. But nor should Gary Lineker. And the BBC has got to get its house in order. Can the staff or can presenters declare publicly their political opinions or not? No need for a review. Just tell us the answer.
And in terms of impartiality, it's possible for him to be critical of the government and still be on BBC and be impartial. The two things are not exclusive.
Well, no, it's not.
He's not going on TV and grilling politicians for the BBC.
But it's not. No, but I don't agree with that. Look, I agree. Everybody's got a right to their opinion, and everybody, within reason, has a right to state them publicly. I believe in freedom of speech. I'm pretty much an absolutist on that. However,
but not for BBC workers.
There's a different contract between employees and their employers. And in terms of the BBC, look, listen to what Tim Davies saying. They know it. That impartiality at the BBC, because we pay for that service, is sacred. And you cannot, in my view, have major faces of the corporation sounding off about what they think.
The cleaners at BBC can do what they want.
No. I think everyone.
Cameramen, producers, everyone has to. If you work for BBC, you must toe the government line.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
The problem is that the BBC's impartiality clause or whatever it is, and their policy on social media use has not managed to keep up with the times. So like a lot of things at the BBC, to be honest. And so, it was probably written at a time where people weren't using social media as much, where it wasn't, Twitter wasn't considered, or Instagram, or all these social media accounts weren't considered.
About just to interrupt for a second, without taking away from what you're saying, because I'm going to back you up. The BBC, when Twitter came up, for about 2 bizarre years, everybody at the BBC was banned from Twitter. You weren't allowed on it. That's how out of date this corporation is. It's 10 to 20 years behind the time on any given issue. And what this Lineker crisis is all about is a massive organisation that is out of touch.
What about other celebrities? We had the Oscars last weekend.
Yeah.
Bill Nye wore a blue ribbon made by refugees, which was asked to her by Kate Blanchett, part of this UN, United Nations Refugee Agency.
Yeah.
He said that wasn't political, but it clearly was. Several of the speeches that were done, people talking about, I dressed in drag, it didn't hurt anybody, my parents were immigrants, I came here, I was in a detention camp for a year. These are all political statements.
Yeah.
So should it be wider than BBC? Should it be a case of celebrities full stop shouldn't be able to?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because if anybody who is of influence, whether you're a influencer on social media or a celebrity or a footballer or anything like that, is now told that you cannot have an opinion, or if you have an opinion you can't express it in public, what is the point in that? You should be able to express your political opinions, your leanings, support causes that you believe in on your own social media. Or if you're in a public platform, I think you should be able to do that, unless the Oscars say, or the Academy Awards, the Golden Globes, whatever, say that nobody anywhere at this award ceremony can make any political statements, can support any organisations. And I just don't think that works.
Speaking of footballers, taking the knee, Kevin.
Well, first of all, I absolutely agree with Afua.
Stop agreeing. You're in different corners.
Well, no. Anybody who's a celebrity, a star, a footballer, if they want to express their political opinions, their opinions on anything, it's a free country, and I believe in free speech. Of course. And if you want to go to the Oscars and make a political statement, that's not the same.
So taking the knee,
making a political statement if you work for the BBC, because there's not a contract.
And taking the knee as an England footballer.
Well, again, taking the knee, I don't agree with it, or it's not that I don't agree with it. I think it's a waste of time. I think it's an empty ritual throughout which, when they started doing it, racism was bad in football. Now, after 2 years of them taking the knee before every game, racism in football is far worse. Yeah. So what I don't agree with
where you were going with that.
What I don't agree with about taking the knee is it's just theatre. and it's not actually doing anything. You know, there are still no black managers, or virtually no black managers in the Premier League. So sort out your own house and stop thinking that just by taking the knee, you're really doing something about racism, because you're not.
Well, if you're saying that it's okay for everyone apart from BBC people, basically, right? What about the King's coronation? BBC are going to show it. That, to me, is quite political. There's plenty of people in this country who don't want to see the King, and the BBC will be showing that coronation. And
the BBC might not show it then.
Well, if we're going to say
looking at 4 billion watching, so
right?
I think they'll screen it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's okay for them to screen the coronation.
But that's what I'm saying, is that they need to. I personally think that you need to take away this social media policy, right? This because the impartiality clause seems to only work for people that they want it to work for, or it seems to only work for, you know, certain people or certain views. And either you really, really get your house in order and make it, you know, airtight and watertight, or you don't.
Well, then let's.
I don't. If the BBC, in its quandary right now, decided, do you know what? We've decided that in this modern age, in the social media age, that impartiality on the part of all our presenters and staff is pretty much impossible. So we're abandoning that policy. I would think there will be problems there, but I wouldn't mind them saying that. At least there'd be clarity. So it's one or the other. That's what they've got to decide.
What about hypocritical celebrities now? So let's say
so many.
Well, let's start with our most
with?
famous British export, Prince Harry. Goes around the world talking about the environment.
You liked him.
I do like Harry. I do. But of course, I could say he's a hypocrite when he's flying on private jets and living this jet lifestyle.
But again, there's all that, and of course, you know, Meghan and Harry, they catch a lot of flack because there is something rather kind of contradictory about saying we really care about the planet and then flying everywhere in private jets. So they're going to catch trouble for that. But both of them, and Harry included, should be allowed to express their opinions. Of course, I wish the royal family would do it a bit more, but they've got this sort of self-imposed purdah, unless they're talking about climate change, which they seem to think is all right to talk about it. So I'd say, you know, everybody who doesn't think that they should express their political opinion should, unless you work for the BBC, because there's a trouble.
Kev O'Sullivan defending Harry and Meghan. Get that cut up and put it across every talk TV show. Amazing. But listen, Afua, there are certainly some celebrities who are just embarrassing and annoying when they get involved in politics.
Yes, and some celebrities are not smart enough to get involved in politics.
True.
So therefore should just keep their mouths shut. And there is a lot of hypocrisy that goes on. But if you're a celebrity, I mean, isn't that part and parcel?
By the way, I think we should also you know, pay some respect to the people of Britain, to the people of the world. They're not that stupid that whatever Gary Lineker tweets, they go, that is now my opinion. If Gary Lineker thinks it, I think it. Or indeed any other celebrity. So that's another reason why I think it's healthy and good that stars and celebrities express their opinions, and then the intelligent public can make up their minds whether or not they agree. That's freedom of speech in action.
What about Kim Kardashian? The most followed celebrity in the world, getting people released from jail. That's a positive.
If she claims to be a lawyer and she claims to release some people from jail, I'm happy
She's
for
not
her.
claiming to. It's happened. It's happened. It's not a claim. It's happened.
Good for her, you know.
But it's purely because of her popularity and influence that's happened.
Of course. But at least she's using it to do some good, as opposed to just getting her arse cheeks out for a change.
Is it good? Because she's freed a few people from life sentences. What about everyone else who's on a life sentence who perhaps shouldn't be there as well?
Yeah, but she hasn't got time because she's doing her
everything.
TikTok
Can't
videos,
do
she's doing
them all.
Instagram videos, she's arguing with Kanye West. She's got a lot to pack into a day.
All right, listen, the concert for Kyiv, am I saying that correct? Kyiv?
Yeah.
Kyiv. That, to me, again, is a huge political statement. So based on what we've said today, with the BBC's current rules, they shouldn't actually show any coverage of that.
That's what I'm saying.
Correct,
they pick and choose.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm saying the BBC seem to pick and choose what issues
this
they
is-
decide that they're going to have a stance on, what issues they decide they're going to be
The
political
concert for
about.
Kyiv is not going to be a concert for everyone in the conflict.
But you're sort of, I mean,
Are they also going to have a concert for Moscow?
you're sort of implying there, though, in the interests of balance, we stand with Russia. Go Putin. Well, of course, he's your favourite guy, isn't he? I remember that.
You've got a point.
No, but we've got to be careful here. We can't start saying the BBC can't put anything on that is political. Now, the concert for Kyiv is obviously a good cause, and one assumes, you're right, that the celebrities, the stars who sing there, will probably make some kind of a statement. So again, it's a grey area, but we mustn't sort of say, oh, the BBC can't tell us anything political, can't show us anything political, because that would be ridiculous.
But they can't come down, they can't pick and choose. You can't come down on one side or the other.
Yeah.
If you're saying that people can't tweet on social media their support for one party or the other, one party policy or the other, then the BBC have to, in their house, do the same thing, surely.
Well, that is the bell. To be honest, guys, I'm kind of confused because the question was, should
actually
celebrities...
disagree that
No.
way, did we?
Should
I
celebrities
knew it
be
had
able...
to happen one day.
Should celebrities be able to talk about politics or should they keep their mouths shut? We've got Afua in the red corner who said...
Yes.
And actually, it's the blue corner. You see how confused you've got me? I don't know where I am.
Sorry.
Goodness.
And in the red
yeah,
corner,
blue.
I
And
said
in the red
yes.
corner, you said yes. So yes, they should keep their mouths shut.
So
Start
I
politics.
won't
No, they shouldn't keep their mouth shut. The celebrities should be able to speak out.
Yeah, that's what we both
But
said.
we have a problem at the BBC.
Yes.
Right. Well, I'm picking
it's a
the
draw,
winner.
isn't it?
Well, actually, you both lose because neither of you took a strong enough stance either way. Okay. So I'm going to let you, the viewer, decide who wins.
Unbelievable.
Comment below.
I want a rejudgment.
Comment below.
Arsehole.
Like, subscribe, and definitely comment. You tell us what's going on because we clearly have no idea. That's all for this week. Thank you to the panel and see you again next time.